Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ. Welcome to update 1.28 experimental Livonia on my local PC server. And in this video I'm going to talk about my slightly boosted loot for Livonia server files, which will work with PCs, PlayStation and Xbox consoles. Kind of the new technique we're going to be using to install them and how it works. I guess what's in the files as well, including these rather cool guns. This is the rack. Oh, that is good. I do like an open bolt submachine gun, which I think that is an open bolt, isn't it? They have a definite style. And then we have the R12 semi-automatic shotgun. Oh, how beautiful. Is that the word? Yeah, you can use that for that kind of thing. Come and get some. Where's he going? Marvellous stuff. Oh, there's another one. Is that everybody? Oh no, here comes Grandma. Oh! Oh no, we got. Do the reload. Look at this reload. Oh. Very nice. Okay, that's enough messing around. Right, let's come out. Let's exit out of this. So, as you probably know by now, every time there's an update, I do some boosted loot files to help people with their servers. And I design these files so they're really simple to install. And they give you things like these Livonians. They're going to give you double weapons, double mags, double box ammo, double food, double drinks, double tools. But less loose ammo, less flags, less clothing. They give you the Payday masks and mags spawn full of bullets. It's a quicker login and log out. Most loot should spawn in pristine. The server doesn't go into idle mode straight away. Build anywhere is activated if you use the CFG gameplay file, and if you've got a map it will show your location, or if you're on PC and just press M it'll bring up the map with your location. 2 times vehicle spawns. Guns spawn in with mags, mostly suppressors, and optics as well. Boats spawn in with spark plugs. Vehicles spawn in complete with a fuel can in the cargo. However, the thing I have to say is the way that you install these files now, 1.28, and going forward, my files, that is, not anybody else's, is different, because we're going to be using a different method. We're going to be using the CFG Economy Core CE method, which has been available for years. But I'll let you into a little secret, okay? So when it first came out, this method, and it's a very good method, and I'll explain why in a minute, I had to go with it, and I couldn't get it to work, because I was making a silly mistake. Because one of the things you have to do is you have to specify the type of file you are amending. So if we're amending the types file, you have to tell the server that it's a type file. If you're amending a cfgspawnabletypes file, which is really important in the type of edits I do, because it's things like adding magazines to guns and putting all the wheels on vehicles, you don't call it a CFG spawnable type, you call it a spawnable types file. And so this was introduced in update 1.08. We're now on update 1.28. So all of this time I was getting it wrong, and I would just give up and go, oh, this is silly, it doesn't work, and move on and do it the old way. So if you know what you're doing, in the link in the description below this video you'll find a link to my GitHub repository, and you'll find the Livonia slightly boosted loot files. Also you'll find a link to my Mega, and that's kind of a backup if GitHub decides to stop working or decides to kick me out or something like that. And what you can do is if you click on the code and click on download zip, you'll download these files. They're not very big because they're text files, and you'll also get the readme, which goes through step by step as to how you do this. And it's fairly simple, But what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to kind of do a walkthrough where we're going to be installing these files on a Livonia Nitrado console server. So if you're new to all this, I'm going to walk you through it. If you know what you're doing though with this type of file, where we're using CFG Economy Core and the CE function, have at it. There we go. There's the files. Have fun. If I've made any mistakes, which I probably have, make sure you tell me in the description below this video. Okay, so you'll also find in the description below this video a link to this page, and this is Bohemia Interactive's official wiki explanation of how the CFG Economy Core file amending function works. And basically what we do is we open up our CFG Economy Core file. I've downloaded my one to my local PC, and it will look something like this, and it specifies a number of variables and stuff like that. And then at the bottom we paste in references to the files that we want to use. And basically what these files are is they're just the edits for a different vanilla file. For example, if we take like the types file, so what my little extra file does, if we leave the vanilla types as it is and don't do any editing to it, and that's the whole point of doing this, you leave it as is. What my file does, it goes, I tell you what, can you give us some more baked beans please? Can you make sure that these magazines are full of bullets please? That's what it does. So it just takes the changes. And the big advantage of doing things this way is that going forward for me, it's much quicker to edit these. It's easier to check for mistakes as well. But also, when we get to update 129, 130, 131, etc. moving forward, even if I don't update these files, they will still work, and they'll still give you the new items, even if I don't update these files, because we're not editing the vanilla types.xml. When you update your types.xml to the latest vanilla one, say they add a new gun, or they add like a potato gun, isn't it? So let's say in update 1.30 they add a potato gun to the types.xml. Even if you use, so that's 1.30, so you update the vanilla types and the potato gun is in there. Even though that isn't in these files, it doesn't matter, because the vanilla types will still spawn in the potato gun. It's just that my extra types won't spawn in anymore, or spawn it in, say, with the amount of potato that should be in the potato gun, that sort of thing. So it's very powerful. It degrades gracefully. That might be a way of putting it. It also means that, say there's an update and I haven't got enough time to create the files for it, it doesn't matter, because you can carry on using these files because they'll still work. You'll also know that if you work with PC mods especially, often they will come with these little types.xml files and events.xml files that you can refer to in this CE section of the CFG Economy Core, and it means you don't have to mess with the vanilla types.xml, which can get very messy, especially when you remove mods as well. When you want to stop things working, to go in, and unless you've been very careful with the way that you do it, it all becomes a mess. So it's a much cleaner way of doing things, and it's the way I will be doing things going forward. Now, all of this I've just kind of explained is also kind of gone over in the README. Well, I don't really explain why it works, but I explain how to do it. So let's dive in. So here we go. So this is a DayZ Xbox server. You'll only want to install these files when 1.28 goes live. So you'll see a message from DayZ on their X or on their Twitter or on their blog saying, right, it's going live today. And then once they say it's gone live, give it a few hours and your server will have changed. Now, normally what happens is the server.exe file, so the program that runs your server, will get updated to 1.28, but the mission files won't. They'll stay with whatever you've got. When you come to the dashboard, when 1.28 goes live, you might see something here that gives you a version number. It's normally here. I don't know why it isn't on this particular server. See if I can refresh it, see if it pops up. No. Oh, here we go. There we go. So as we can see, we're on version 1.27. So when it goes to 1.28, and at the time of recording this video, I don't know when that is, we'll know that the server.exe has changed. However, the mission files probably won't have. They'll still be the old ones. So we've got to make a few decisions about what we're going to do. So if we now go to the settings general and we have a look at this, we can now kind of decide, well, how are we going to do this install of these new files? Are we just going to do it as a straight install where we're just going to leave the map and leave the players as they are, which is probably what most people are going to be doing? Or are you going to be doing a fresh install where you wipe everything and start again? So you've got to kind of make a decision about that. The other thing you want to do at this point is you'd want to go into the file browser and download any files that you want to keep. Say in your custom folder, if you've got any object spawner files, or if you've got any fresh spawn loadout files, all that sort of stuff, download it and back it up, because sometimes when we do an update, that stuff can get deleted. So just be careful about that. So make sure you do that. Also, if you've made any edits to types.xmls or events.xmls or cfgspawnabletypes.xmls that you want to keep, make sure you've got copies of them before we go through this process. So let's say we wanted to do a fresh install kind of thing, a wipe and do it. What we do is we would stop the server like that, and then if we come down here, we've got these two files here, storage wipe and reset XML to mission default. We must reset the mission XML to default, okay? Because what that's going to do is going to force the server to update to 1.28 mission files. So it's going to put the latest things like the new guns into the vanilla files. Now, unfortunately, on PC, you don't have this option. So you've either got to reinstall, or if you go to this file, and I'll put a link to it in the description below this video, if you go to this folder, this is all of the mission files for DayZ. And so at some point on the update day or soon after it, DayZ Offline Churners Plus will get updated. And the way that you'll know is you'll go into it, you'll go into the DB, and you'll be looking for the types to have been updated like yesterday or today, and then you'll know it'll be 1.28. It will, they normally say it as well. If you go to here as well, yeah, there you go. So you've got stable update 1.27, 1.26, and going back in time that way. So that's where PC users can get that. Console players, we have this great thing where we can do, console server owner, sorry, we have a great thing we can do that. Now, this is the storage wipe option. So if we wanted to wipe the storage and start again, this is the option we would use. However, do bear in mind that will wipe everybody's bases, everybody's characters, all of the loot. But obviously, if you do wipe all of the loot and you start again with these files that are going to give you things like pristine loot that lasts longer, and guns with mags and vehicles with wheels, all that sort of stuff, then that will give you that stuff immediately. Whereas if you don't do a wipe, that stuff could take a while to spawn in. Now that isn't a problem, I don't think. It's fair enough to not do that. And if you've got a lot of players on your server, you know that people don't like wipes unless you've really got to do it. So maybe avoid that option. But they're the kind of things to think about. And what we would do is, if we were going to do a wipe, we would activate that. We would save the changes. We would restart the server and stop the server. And then we would untick that and do the changes that we're going to do. But as it is, we're just going to turn it off, because I don't want to do a wipe on this server. So reset mission XMLs to default. So let's save that. And then what we would do is we would then restart the server. And so what this would do is, on update day, what would then happen is it updating? Let's just make sure. Yeah, so it's restarting. Update day, it would then make sure that we've got the latest 1.28 files. Now the reason why we have to do that is because the files that we're going to be uploading, which are here, you notice there's only these ones. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 6 files that we're uploading. And that's one of the whole points of this system, is that it's very, very easy. There's only a few files to upload. And we're leaving everything else vanilla. But these files will make a massive difference to the way that people can play the game, because they'll have more stuff, more food, more weapon, more knives, but also because stuff spawns in pristine, it lasts longer. You come across a vehicle and it's got all the bits on it. All you need to do is put the fuel in the fuel cap, and then get some water and fill the radiator up and drive off. Well, that's way easier than having to come up with everything from scratch and that sort of stuff. So it really does change the way the game plays. And if you're thinking, well, 2 times weapons, that's not very much, trust me, 2 times weapons is more than enough. Right, okay, so that's doing its business. Blah, blah, blah. Server will now restart. So what we'll start doing now is while that's doing that, we're going to go over to the file browser here. There we go. I think it's done its business. Okay, so if it's done its business, we'll just go back to settings, scroll down. Reset mission to default is unticked, so that's good. So while we're here, we might as well scroll all the way down, and we want to make sure that we have enable cfgspawnabletypes.json ticked, because that means that we're going to be able to use the build anywhere things. So now we're going to go to the file browser now. So this is where we can upload files. And so what you'll see is something like this. Now, if it's a PlayStation, it will say DayZ PS missions. If it's a PC, it will just say DayZ mission, I think. And then of the Xbox, DayZ XP mission. So we click on that. And you can see we've got Churnerous Plus, if this was a Churnerous server, and Enoch for a Livonia server. So that's what we want. So we're going to click on that. Let's make sure the server is stopped. And then we're going to go down to CFG Economy Core. We can just click on this one straight away. And we can scroll down to the bottom, and then after defaults we can press enter and make a little space, and then you may well have downloaded it, but if you haven't, we can go to here and we can just copy and paste this bit, and then we go back to where were we here, and we can paste that in. Now on console servers, we have a customs folder. It's always there for us, and we have to put any file in there that doesn't have a vanilla equivalent. So with these files, for example, they're called 1L128 extra types.xml. If on a console server, if these were anywhere else apart from the custom folder, the server just wouldn't read them. It'd go, meh. No, I'm not reading it. Now on PC, that isn't the case. So you don't necessarily have to put these files that we're going to put there in a minute into the custom folder. However, I do recommend you do to keep them separate. So let's save that. And now let's go back into the mission folder. And as you can see, I've got a custom folder here because it's already there. If you're on PC, you would create a new direction, call it custom. We click on that. So there's nothing in here, so upload file. Where we got DayZ modding, wherever you've downloaded it on your computer, 1281L. So here we go. Let's upload all those. Bop, bop, bop. And then I almost forgot, but now let's go back to the mission. Upload file, and we want the cfgspawnabletypes.json. That uploads there. And then start server. And there we go. And these changes will now start to take effect. If it was a blank server to start off with, then we're going to start getting this pristine stuff straight away. If there's other stuff already on it and we haven't done a wipe, then it's going to take a while for this stuff to start to cycle through. So what happens is the lifetime of a thing, say like a can of baked beans, say it's, I don't know, 8 hours or something like that. It will last for this on the server for about 8 hours. If nobody else interacts for it, then it will disappear, and then the server's central economy system will then spawn it somewhere else probably, or spawn something else in, like a can of Pepsi or something. And it's gradually churning through this. However, when everybody leaves a server, it goes into idle mode after a period of time. Now these files that I'm giving you here, I think it's 10 minutes it leaves it on for, so it gives it a bit of churn. But obviously the maps like Livonia, Churnerous, are pretty big, so it can take the server a long time to churn through everything. Plus also you've got the physical wait time of an item's particular lifetime for it to get through. So if you've got a really busy server where people are on and off it all of the time, the server's not going into idle mode very often, so that churn of loot to give you the new stuff will happen quicker. It won't happen in high traffic areas where people keep picking things up and dropping them, because that's extending the lifetime of that particular item. But in all the other places, the stuff will be disappearing and reappearing. If on your server there's only you and a couple of mates that go on it, then it may well take a longer time for this to happen. Of course, there's always the chance, very high chance, that I've made a mistake anyway. And it's not working because I've made a mistake. And if you do find a mistake, please let me know in the description below the video, because I think in the last 5 or 6 updates I've made at least one mistake. I have gone through and validated all of these files. I have tested them as much as I can on a local server and on a remote server, but fingers crossed. So there we go. So that server will have restarted now. We could join it and we would find our pristine stuff. So all of the relevant links will be in the description below this video. Hopefully you find these files useful. If you do, let me know. I've been doing them for long enough now. And of course, I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.